She trusted him. She loved him. She never imagined he'd use their own children as weapons. This isn't just a story about divorce. It's about how a narcissist stole a mother's children and the secret recording that finally destroyed him. You're watching Vic's Crime Stories, where the darkest family secrets get exposed. Let me take you back to Minneapolis, 2016. The city was alive with summer, the kind where the sun lingers just a little longer in the sky, as if it didn't want the day to end. That's where it all began, where Damon and I first met. He had a smile that could convince anyone he was a hero of his own story, and for a while, I believed it too. By the time our daughter Avery was born, followed by our son Jude, we were the family you'd see in holiday cards, laughing, wrapped up in scarves at the ice rink, or grinning under the bright lights of the Mall of America. The perfect snapshot. The perfect lie. Our home in Maple Grove was the kind of house people admired. A white picket fence, a porch swing that creaked in the breeze, flower beds that bloomed every spring. But inside those walls, something was shifting. Slowly, quietly. Damon had a way of rewriting reality, one small edit at a time. A comment here, a suggestion there. Mommy's tired. He'd say, when I want to play with the kids. Mommy doesn't understand. He'd whisper when I try to discipline them. And then, one evening in October 2018, I found Jude's notebook left open on the kitchen counter. Scribbled in his shaky handwriting were words that didn't belong to a 7-year-old. Dad says Mom is sick. Just like that. No explanation. No warning. A seed planted in the mind of a child who trusted his father more than anything in the world. I should have seen it coming. But love has a way of blinding you, doesn't it? You tell yourself it's a phase. A misunderstanding. A rough patch. Until the day you realize the person you married isn't just flawed. He's building a new version of you in the minds of your children. A version that's unkind, unstable, unworthy. And the worst part? He was good at it. So good that by the time I understood what was happening, the courtroom was already a stage. The judge's audience and my children, my own flesh and blood, were repeating his lines back to me like actors in a play I never agreed to. But Damon didn't stop there. Oh no, he had a plan, and it was far worse than I could have imagined, because what he did next, it wasn't just cruel, it was calculated. And when the truth finally came out, even the judge, well, let's just say no one saw that coming. The papers were signed. The divorce was final. But for Damon, that wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of a different kind of war. A war fought not with fists, but with whispers. Not with weapons, but with words carefully chosen to turn my own children against me. And he was patient. So terribly patient. It started small, as these things often do. A comment here, a suggestion there. Mommy didn't come to your game because she doesn't care, he'd tell Jude, who was only 6 years old and still believed every word his father said. I'd show up the next week, eager to make up for it, only to find my son looking at me with something new in his eyes. Distrust. Confusion. As if I were a stranger who had wandered into his life uninvited. And Damon would stand there, just out of sight, watching with that quiet smile of his. The smile of a man who knew exactly what he was doing. Then came the gifts. Not the kind you give out of love, but the kind you use as bargaining chips. An iPhone for Avery, who was only 9. So you can always reach me, he told her. So you can tell me if Mommy does anything strange. And just like that, my daughter became his eyes and ears in my own home. I'd catch her watching me sometimes, her little fingers tapping out messages I wasn't meant to see. Once, I found her hiding in the closet, whispering into the phone. She's acting weird again. My heart shattered right then and there, but I couldn't let her see it, couldn't let him win. But Damon wasn't done. Oh no, he had one more move to make, and it was his cruelest yet. One weekend, he took the kids to his parents' lake house in White Bear Lake, just far enough to be outside the custody radius, just far enough to make it difficult for me to see them. It's only for a few days, he said, but a few days turned into a week. then 2, then a month. Every time I called, the kids sounded farther away, their voices tinged with something I couldn't quite place. Resentment? Fear? I didn't know. All I knew was that I was losing them, piece by piece, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. And then, in 2022, Jude handed me a note, just a scrap of paper, really, folded in half like a secret. I opened it, my hand shaking, and there it was, written in his careful, childish handwriting. "Dad says you lie." 3 words. That's all it took for the world to tilt on its axis. Because in that moment, I realized the truth. This wasn't just a divorce. It wasn't just a custody battle. This was a calculated, deliberate campaign to erase me from my children's lives. And the worst part? It was working. But Damon had made one mistake. One tiny, fatal mistake. He underestimated a mother's love. And that was where the real story began. March in Minnesota is a cruel month. The snow melts into gray slush. The wind carries the last bite of winter, and the world feels caught between 2 seasons. Just like I was caught between 2 realities. One where I was still a mother to my children, and one where I was becoming a stranger in their eyes. But that was about to change. Because on a cold Tuesday afternoon in 2023, I followed Damon and the kids to Eden Prairie Mall, and what I witnessed there would change everything. I remember the way the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as I moved through the crowd. I had pulled up, my hands shoved deep in my pockets. I kept my distance, but close enough to see, close enough to hear. And then I saw them, Damon kneeling in front of Avery near the food court, his hands on her shoulders, his voice low and urgent. At first, I thought he was comforting her. Maybe she'd fallen. Maybe she was scared. But then I saw the way his fingers dug into her arms. Saw the way he glanced around before leaning in closer. And that's when I heard it. "You have to cry," he whispered. "When the lady asks about Mommy, you have to cry. Tell her Mommy hit you. Tell her you're afraid to go home." My breath caught in my throat. My fingers fumbled for my phone. The world narrowed to that single moment. The way Avery's face crumpled, the way she nodded, the way Damon smoothed her hair back like he was proud of her. And then, just like that, I had it. The recording. The proof. His voice, clear as day, telling our daughter to lie. To destroy me. I should have felt triumphant. I should have felt relieved. But all I felt was sick. Because this wasn't just about me anymore. This was about a little girl who was being taught that love was conditional. That loyalty could be bought. That her own mother was someone to fear. I played that recording over and over in the car that night, my hands shaking, my vision blurred with tears. But beneath the anger, beneath the hurt, there was something else, a cold, creeping realization. Damon wasn't acting alone. The way he glanced around before speaking to Avery. The way he'd known exactly what to say. This was too calculated. Too precise. Someone had helped him. Someone had told him what to do. And when I finally let myself consider who that someone might be, the truth hit me like a punch to the gut. Because the person who stood to gain the most from all of this wasn't just Damon. It was someone who'd been in my life longer than he had. Someone who'd smiled at me across dinner tables and holiday gatherings. Someone who'd held my children as babies and whispered secrets into their ears. And that was the real horror. Not just that my husband had turned my children against me, but that he'd had help from the last person I ever would have suspected. The question was, what was I going to do about it? The recording changed everything. That shaky, muffled audio of Damon whispering to our daughter in the mall became my weapon. But I knew it wouldn't be enough. Not for what I needed to do. Not for what my children deserved. So I began gathering an arsenal of truths, each more damning than the last. First came the secret recordings. Minnesota law allowed it one-party consent. So I recorded every pickup, every drop-off, every his threat in parking lots and school hallways. Damon never suspected. He was too used to being in control, too confident in his power. The day I played those recordings for my lawyer, she actually stopped typing mid-sentence. "My God," she said, "he's giving us everything we need." Then came Dr. Langley from the University of Minnesota, a forensic psychologist who specialized in parental alienation. She spent hours with Avery and Jude, using dolls and drawings to uncover what words couldn't express. I'll never forget the way her face changed when Jude drew our family. Damon towering large as a giant, me small and featureless in the corner, the children with their backs turned to me. "This isn't just preference," Dr. Langley told the judge. "This is systematic programming." But the real turning point came from an unexpected place. Damon's own sister, Clara. We'd never been close, but one rainy afternoon she showed up at my door unannounced, her hands shaking around a coffee cup. "I can't watch him do to your kids what he did to me," she said, and then she told me stories from their childhood that made my blood run cold. The psychological games, the cruel punishments, the way he convinced their parents that she was the problem. "He's been practicing this his whole life," Clara whispered. When she agreed to testify, I saw something in her eyes. I recognized the look of someone finally breaking free. The courtroom battle lasted months. Damon fought dirty, of course. New allegations surfaced weekly. But piece by piece, the truth came out. The judge's face grew darker with each revelation. When the final ruling came in August 2024, full custody revoked, supervised visits only, Damon actually laughed. A cold, hollow sound that echoed through the courtroom. He leaned in close as they let him out and whispered, "This isn't over." I believed him. Coming home with the kids, that first night should have felt like victory. Avery clung to me in a way she hadn't since she was small. Jude even let me tuck him in. But as I stood in their doorway watching them sleep, Jude's phone buzzed on the nightstand. Just once. Just loud enough. And when I saw my son's body tense, saw his fingers twitch toward that screen like it was something dangerous, I realized the awful truth. We might have won a war in court, but the battle for my children's minds was far from over. Because some wounds don't heal just because the fighting stops. Some fears don't disappear when the monster's banished. And some lessons, the wrong ones, the poisonous ones, take root so deep that pulling them out might tear everything apart. But I was their mother, and if there's one thing a mother knows how to do, it's fight for her children. Even when the enemy isn't a person anymore, but the ghosts they left behind. Even when the battlefield is your own child's mind. Even when you're not sure you can win. You fight anyway. You fight always. Because that's what love does. And love was the one weapon Damon never understood. Time passes differently after the storm. The days stretch long and quiet, filled with ordinary moments that feel extraordinary simply because we're together. Like standing in our kitchen last December, flour dusting the counter like fresh snow, Avery's hands guiding mine as we rolled out sugar cookie dough. "Like this, Mom," she said, her voice so soft I almost missed it. And then, as she pressed a cookie cutter into the dough, she added, "I'm sorry." 2 words. That's all they were. But they hung in the air between us, heavy with everything we'd lost and everything we were trying to find again. Jude still wakes sometimes, his sheets tangle around his legs, his breath coming too fast. I sit with him then in the blue glow of his nightlight, and we don't talk about the dreams. We don't need to. I know what haunts him. The same things that haunt me. The echoes of words that shouldn't have been said, the memories of days when he looked at me and saw a stranger. But now, when the nightmares come, he lets me hold him, and that's more than I dared hope for. As for Damon, well, karma has a funny way of catching up with people like him. It started small, a missed payment here, a questionable deduction there. Then his sister Clara, brave Clara, handed over the files she'd been keeping for years. Spreadsheets, emails, records of transactions that didn't quite add up. By the time the IRS finished digging, The man who'd been so careful to control every aspect of our lives couldn't even control his own downfall. The indictment made front-page news, of course. Local developer charged with tax evasion. I didn't click the article. Didn't need to. Some memories you don't need to keep. People ask me sometimes if I feel victorious, if seeing his name dragged through the papers gave me some sense of justice. But the truth is, victory doesn't feel like I thought it would. It's not fireworks and cheering crowds. It's quieter than that, deeper. It's Avery slipping her hand into mine without thinking. It's Jude laughing at one of my terrible jokes. It's standing in that convention center at the Pillsbury Bake-Off, flower in my hair and my kids by my side, realizing that for the first time in years, we were just happy, not pretending, not performing, just happy. That's not to say the scars aren't there. They are. Some days Avery still hesitates before answering her phone. Some nights Jude checks the locks twice. And me? I still catch myself holding my breath sometimes, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Old fears don't disappear overnight, but we're learning, all of us, that healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about building something new from the pieces left behind. Damon's story isn't over. Men like him always find new ways to cause damage. But here's what he never understood. Love isn't a battle to be won. It's not about control or conquest. Real love, the kind that lasts, is like bread dough. You knead it gently. You give it time to rise. You don't rush the process, no matter how hungry you are for results. And when it's ready, when it's truly ready, it becomes something that can sustain you. Something warm and solid and good. That's what we're making now, my children and I. Not just cookies, though there have been plenty of those. We're making a life. One shaped by our choices, not his. One where the recipes are ours to write. And if some days the dough doesn't rise, if sometimes the cookies burn, well, we'll try again tomorrow. Because that's the beautiful thing about baking and about love. There's always another chance to get it right. As long as you don't give up on the ingredients. As long as you keep believing they can become something wonderful. As long as you remember, the most important thing isn't how it looks, but how it tastes. And ours is finally starting to taste like home again. If this story has touched you, if you've ever looked into the eyes of someone you loved and seen a stranger staring back, then I need you to do something for me. Leave the number 315 in the comments below. That's how many miles I drove back and forth across Minnesota, fighting for my children. Every mile was worth it. Every tear. Every sleepless night. Because love isn't measured in words. It's measured in action. In miles driven. In battles fought. In second chances taken. And if you believe in second chances, if you believe that no one should have to endure what my children and I survived, then hit that like button. Let's show the world that stories like ours matter. That victims deserve to be heard. That monsters to be unmasked. But most importantly, subscribe. Because this isn't just my story. It's the story of so many others still trapped in the silence. Like the teacher in our next video, who discovered her husband wasn't just living a lie. He was living a double life. One that put her and her students in danger. Her fight isn't over yet, but with your support, it will be. Together, we can turn pain into power, secrets into justice, and victims into survivors. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay strong, and never stop fighting for your truth.